Hey, welcome to another update on Archmage Rises. And this is the part of the update where I lie to you about when you're going to get a build. So let's get into that. Last update, sadly, which was 2 weeks ago, I thought that I would have a build ready right now, and I don't. And I did do a quick post on Steam Forum for anybody that saw it, that there were some unforeseen circumstances related to COVID that caused some delays. I can go through kind of the three biggest ones. I'm not sure anybody even cares, but hey, I'm just being transparent about what's going on here. So the first thing is Michael was supposed to return back to working here in the office and living here on the island, and he got turned away at the border. So he is still working remotely, and there's like some challenges with working remotely and reviewing how things feel. It's very much that. It's pretty easy with specifics like, hey, add this feature, put in this new artwork or whatever. Like those things, whether you're next to the person or remote, don't matter as much. But in terms of feel, like, should it be like this? Should it be like that? Like, anyway. So Michael's still working remotely indefinitely. Who knows when the borders are going to open up again? So that is the first thing. The second thing is I teach part-time at a college on game design and such, and that has all moved online, which required a whole bunch of work on my part in order to start recording videos like this, in order to prepare the lessons, change them. Final projects were being due. We only have 5 weeks left of the semester. I had to change the final projects and stuff. So anyways, there's like a bunch of work in order to eliminate the requirement of being in person in class, and the tools and the computer labs. So, some of the students don't even have computers or the software necessary to do their assignments and stuff. So I had to change all that, and that took a bunch of time. And I have a grocery store. I don't know how many people know that. I don't know what I've mentioned or haven't mentioned, but long time ago, my wife accidentally bought a grocery store, and that is a longer story that I'm not going to get into, because your first question is going to be, how do you accidentally buy a grocery store? But anyway, it happened, and with this COVID stuff, it's required a whole bunch of changes and operations, and we have shortages on things, and just dealing with a bunch of stuff related with that. And just an example of this, I was busy preparing this update, because really, I do prepare for them. It may not look like it, but I do. So I'm busy preparing for this update, and my store manager quit. And that has now caused a whole bunch of work and interruption, even to preparing this update for today. So it is later in the day than I planned to be doing this update, but anyway, it is what it is. So yeah, COVID is having a small impact on Archmage Rise's build. Although I must say, like, 90% of it is right here. It's my fault. Okay, here's where we're at. The tech is there. It's good. The game works, and we are working on the dungeon quests. And what does that mean? Well, it's about the why. Why are you going into these dungeons? And so I want to dive into that and explain that, and why that is taking a bit longer than I thought. There's a couple of things. One is, of course, we always thought the tech was further along than it actually was. And then there's changes and stuff that just need to be made since we last worked on it like a year and a half ago or whatever. And so I'm going to talk now about the dungeon quest. So the dungeon tech is in place. We have bugs and stuff to fix. We still have to do our playability testing, but we're working on the quest part of why are you going into the dungeon, and what you do there matters to the why of being there, and then what you take out of that dungeon experience and turn back. So let's talk about the why. The quest logic for Archmage Rises is very different from any other role-playing game, because this is a simulator, and the whole world is simulating and generating these quests out of real needs, as opposed to some scripted piece, or just, because some game designer put an exclamation mark over someone's head. So the quests that you see in the game are coming out of real things that are occurring in the world. It's a living, breathing world. So what is happening? And now I am going to switch over and walk you through kind of a logic flowchart to kind of explain how this is working. Okay, so here we are. I put together this flowchart to help explain this to you and also to Michael and the rest. This will hopefully create a basis that we can continue to add from going forward. So the whole thing is, why are you going into a dungeon? Well, a dungeon is a lair. That's what it is. We are working on other quest reasons right now, but ultimately it's a lair for the monsters. So what happens is you have monster patrols. That's what we call the grouping of monsters that leave a lair and run around on the map. So if you see monsters on the map, they are a patrol coming out of a lair somewhere. And you can follow them if you want and see where it is that they disappear, and it's a good indication where their lair is. So when a monster enters into a hex on the map where an NPC is, so whether it doesn't matter whether the monster's first or the NPC's first, but either way, when these two worlds collide, something happens. And the first thing is nothing could happen. The hexes are roughly a mile across. Maybe they don't meet each other. Okay, fine, that goes away. But if they do meet each other, then you have this first part here. Does the monster attack? So if the monster does not attack, then the NPC spotted the monster. And that usually involves the NPC running away. Unless they're a soldier, they have different logic. But in general, the NPC runs away. So that leads to an NPC saying, you know, I was out working my fields and I saw goblins and now I'm scared to go back and work in my fields. Okay, so that's how that kind of quest gets generated. And that's what we call an investigate quest. So maybe people don't believe him, like, you're always seeing things, or you cry wolf, or you cry goblin too many times. And so they are just looking for somebody to go and validate the fact that actually there really are goblins like wandering around, and we really should be scared. I mean, with everything going on with COVID right now, data about should we really be scared is really, really valuable. So that's what this quest line is should we actually be afraid? Is there actually something going on, or was it a one-time occurrence? So that's the investigate quest. There is a notification that goes to the mayor, and we kind of rank these things, and we have a point system, and so maybe that's 1 point, and we say, and the mayor's like, okay. He looks at that and he's like, I'm not too concerned, so nothing gets done at the mayor level. Okay, so back to does the monster attack? The monster does attack, then whoever the NPC is, they get attacked, and there's different results that happen from that. The first that can happen is they get injured, so they bumps and bruises, they get cut, something like that. So if they get injured, then there is a chance in fleeing for their lives that they drop something. They drop their favorite hatchet or a borrowed scythe or something. And then that creates a quest, which is a lost item quest. So that is I was out working my field and I saw goblins and they attacked me and I dropped my tools and just ran. Can you please go back to the field and get my tools? Okay, that kind of quest. So it's a very basic fetch item quest, and that gets generated, and that is what is available for the player. Another thing that could happen is maybe they didn't drop something and lose something, but they're just mad. They want revenge. They're like, hey, these goblins, this is a real threat. This is terrible. I want you to go and kill X of them. So that is, go and kill 5 goblins. I don't know what the right numbers are, 3, 6, 7, 8. Nobody wants to play a kill 50 goblins quest or collect 50 wolf pelts or something like that. So we're going to keep them small. The whole focus of the game is to play, quickly and have lots of different and enjoyable things to do than to just keep grinding away. So the revenge quest is, we just need to kind of kill a bunch of them off, and that will thin the ranks, so to speak. There'll be like less goblins wandering around, which is true. That's how the simulator works. Like, it's because of the size of the population of the lair that they have X number of goblins or wolves or whatever to wander around inside the world. So if you go and you killed like 8 of them, then that's 8 less, and they won't wander around the world, and then everything is happy again. So that's what that quest is. So there's 2 quests that come out of somebody being injured. Then, if they get attacked and they actually get killed, there are two choices that come out of that. If the attacking monster is sentient, then they would capture. Or in the case of a spider, they drag the body back and they can suck its blood for a long time. So giant spiders, in this sense, count as sentient, even though, of course, they aren't. And goblins are like, hey, we're just going to capture them and, I don't know, torture them or beat them up or make fun of them, or make them listen to our goblin poetry, which is the worst form of torture. So that's the choice, that it could go either way. So the person ends up dying, or they end up getting captured. Of course, wolves don't capture anybody. So if they die, then what actually happens is there's a missing person quest. Nobody in the town knows what happened. The guy went out into his field. We never saw him again. So that's a missing person quest. And whether they got killed or captured, it's exactly the same quest. It just has a different result coming out of it. And so that is, you go there and you investigate and you find a body, then you return the body, and then that ends that kind of whole quest chain. And the fact that somebody got killed by wolves or goblins, whatever, gets notified to the mayor. If they got captured, then all you find is some tracks and no body, and so they were probably captured, and then that creates a new quest from the same quest giver to be like, can you go find them? And I need my husband back, I need my daughter back, or whatever. So that creates different quests, and you go and you try to find that captured person. So where do you find them? In the lair. That's where they take it back. I should have also mentioned that under the lost item, the lost item could also not be there right where the person dropped it. The goblins could have been, hey, cool, look at this awesome axe, and they take it back into the lair. So the only way to resolve the missing person or the missing item is to go back to the lair. And again, there's certain decisions internally that are made about that. So that is what happens with the NPCs. And then we had, for instance, some of the bugs this week where too many people were encountering the patrols, and you end up with like 15 quests because of the same patrol, because everybody ran into them, and then you have all this, and then we were like, oh, we gotta lower this down so that there's just like a few people that are responding to it. So if there's somebody who spots goblins but doesn't have any interaction with them, and then there's somebody who is injured by goblins, the spotting quest should go away and the injured quest should go there. So this is the kind of work that we've been doing, and what takes like a while to kind of think through all the edge cases, and just dialogue about what is the best way to handle this. So that's what's happening. So the NPCs, the townsfolk, are creating these level of quests. I don't even know if this is recording my mouse cursor. I think it is. But they are this level of quests. And then that's it. You get the lost item, you return it back, we're done. You go and you kill the goblins, great, we're done. The next level is these things that are occurring with the townsfolk are bubbling up to the mayor. And then the mayor has some kind of threshold as to how concerned he is and whether he acts. So that is this part. So have we reached the mayor concern threshold? If the answer is yes, then now the mayor's like, okay, this is a problem. I need you to go and find the lair. Now, if the player has already found the lair because they went and did a missing person quest, or they went and found the lost item in the lair, then they already know where that lair is, and then we have logic say, okay, we're going to skip that part of it. You already know where the lair is, and then you go to the mayor, and he just skips locate lair, and then there's a kill X quest. So it's very similar to this revenge quest. And so this is, okay, these goblins are a serious threat. We need to go tell them that we mean business and go wipe out X number of them. And so it's not really revenge based. It's more of preemptive strike in order to stop them from attacking us. And so you go and you do that. And then if there's no more goblin attacks, then like that worked. Hey, you're a hero. You solved the goblin problem, and that's great. And so that's why this thing would end out at done. But if things are so bad, or if goblins sure enough show up again, a month later, and they start terrorizing the townsfolk, then boo, you suck, you didn't actually solve it, Actually, I don't think it's going to affect your reputation or anything, but it was like, oh, okay, it's like a really big problem, and we really need to do something about it. So now I need you to go and destroy the lair. So what we're trying to do here is have dynamic quest generation based on the simulator that creates quest chains, and quest chains that you would see in your typical role-playing game in your MMO. And it's supposed to feel that way. That's how it's supposed to work. And so this is the work that we've been putting in, all for the purpose of, why are you going into a dungeon? Because we have played the game without a reason of going in the dungeon. You just kind of wander around and go, hey, that's neat. So in order to play test, we have to have this part working, and it's proven difficult. Little funny side story was when I first talked to Michael about working on this. He's been working on this for a while now, and we were kind of whiteboarding out like what the requirements are to getting this build out, and I said, well, I think it's going to take you about 3 weeks. It's probably going to take you about 2 weeks just to like get into the guts and understand how this quest system is, and get kind of the first one working, like investigate quest, and then the wipe out the lair and the kill X quest. Once you kind of know how it's working, maybe that'll take you the third week in order to do both of those and get those working. And his response was like, well, isn't this stuff like already built? And I was like, yeah, it's pretty much already built. And he's like, why would it take 3 weeks to like change something or fix something that is like already built and was working before? And I'm like, yeah, you know, Archmage is like hard to work on, and it's been 6 weeks and he's still working on this stuff. Again, the edge cases, because it's not content driven. We're not just creating a bunch of content, we're creating a simulator that creates content. And yeah, there's just a lot of unforeseen things, things that just crop up and are like, oh, that's not supposed to be how that goes. So anyways, it's been 6 weeks that we've been working on that, and so we're near the end of that. All these things are basically working now. He is moving on to now more discrete bug fixes. And so on my side, I am working on the text that goes along with all this. And I have spent 12 hours this week working on writing the text that goes into these quest things. And the reason for that is I want it to sound good, of course. I also don't want it to be the same thing over and over. Honestly, I don't want it to look like it was a procedurally generated quest. I want it to kind of seem like somebody wrote this thing. And so we already have some experience with taking pieces of language and like merging them together and trying to get something out. So I thought I'd show you how we do that. I am not pretending that it's like, you know, the most advanced language simulator ever. But anyways, maybe you're interested to see kind of behind the scenes on how that works. And so I can show you how that works and what kind of the testing cycle is for doing that. So I'm going to dive into that right now. So here we are in the code. I blew it up to make it a little bit bigger. And this is the reason why the game can't be localized into any other language. So for all of the people that at least once a week contact me to say, hey, we offer localization services, please watch this video and stop contacting me about localization, because I just don't think it's possible. So here we have a list of sentences, strings that in this case are sentences. Sometimes I go with just phrases, but in this case they're sentences. And we have a couple intro sentences and then what I call a hook. And then anything in square brackets is something that gets replaced later on. So for instance here, this phrase, we must remove the goblins right at their source, will actually be replaced with other words. And so this is where we follow the grammatical rules of English, and like to translate this where there's like a different sequence of how you would do word replacement, or about specifically conjugation of verbs, articles like the and and stuff. I don't even know what you would call those in other languages, but anyway, the articles, pronouns and stuff. Like, there's just so many things that I just can't see how you would ever localize this. So anyway, so we have a bunch of these phrases, and I'm not going to bore you by looking at all of them, but the idea is to have kind of like 6. So not that that's a specific number, but apparently I have done 6 here, and then we have 5 here, and then we got 6 more there. And so if you start multiplying those out, 6 times 5 is 30, times 6 is now 180. And so that's how you get a lot of variation in what these quest things are. I've been playing a lot of State of Decay 2 recently. I love that game. That game is awesome. It is a systems-based action survival, zombie survival game. And there's so many things about that game that are similar in thinking and vein as Archmage Rises. So Michael is sick and tired of me talking his ear off about how great State of Decay 2 is, so now I'll tell you about it. And actually I'm in the works and working on an article to just kind of identify all the cool things about State of Decay 2 that are similar to Archmage Rises, or vice versa, things that they've done in State of Decay that I'm doing in Archmage. And then of course they're different games. They have the whole like run around in 3D, jump inside a car, drive around and stuff. Obviously we don't have that, but in terms of the simulator and the world generating quests and stuff, very, very similar. So in their case, they have all these pre-recorded dialogue lines, and it's very obvious that they were written in kind of a nebulous way, generic way. We can be a little more specific because we're not doing VO, and we can substitute in the words as we need them. So anyway, you have all these strings, and I didn't multiply them all together, but anyways, it's in the thousands as to what the different variations are. And then we go through here and we start choosing which ones to put together. And so sometimes certain pieces, phrases will show up, and sometimes they won't. And so here we piece it all together, and then we put in the data that we have. So that's why the simulator is so important, because it gives us the data that allows all this to happen. So we put in the layers, race name, we put in the name, the leader title. So if it's a goblin, they're a chieftain, but if it's a wolf, chieftain doesn't make any sense at all. So we need to put like den mother or pack mother, or den father, pack father. So you know what it is that you're looking for. You need to find it in the layer in order to go and kill it. Then we have pluralization if there's pluralization, and then different adjectives or adverbs or verbs in order to tell you what you need to do. And then that'll ends up in the request. So what does that all look like? Well, that's what I'm going to show you now. And so this is the cycle, is like I work on, what should it sound like? I look at quest dialogues from lots of games, just picking on Blizzard, Diablo 3, and World of Warcraft. I'll go and I'll look like what is the essence of this kind of quest request, and then I will kind of piece that out and try to make substitutional pieces and stuff, and anyways it ends up like this. And then we go into the game, and then we run the game, and so I have some code built into the game right now that just takes a bunch of random townsfolk and the closest layer and starts jamming those people together so that they have interactions, so that it generates quests. And so now the game has launched, and I don't need to keep it running anymore. And then we go off, and it outputs this thing to a text file, and call it game state. And so here we go. The quests have two phrases to them. The first person, so you're talking to the person who was attacked, or the third person. So the first person is basically the quest giver, the person who, like, I want you to do something. Third person is like the innkeeper telling you about it, or what shows up in your quest log. Okay, so this is what the mayor will say. This is the mayor speaking and saying, I need you to wipe out the lair, because that's the one I was just working on. So I do not make this request lightly. Our course is set. Oh, there's a punctuation error. See, so I'm still not done. Okay, our course is set. We must purge the goblins right at their center. Enter the goblin lair, kill its leader, and any other goblins you find. We need you more than ever. So I don't know how you feel about how well that flows. I think there's I would give it kind of an 8 out of 10 in terms of flow, the middle part here. And then that's what I do, is I try to figure out, like, what should it have said in this middle part here, and try to figure out generic wording or how I piece it together in order to get it. So let's read another one. I didn't decide upon this lightly. The civilians aren't safe here anymore. Not even inside their homes. We must remove the goblin's source. Kill every goblin you find in their lair. We'll make that chieftain pay. Then life can return to normal. So I think this one's a 10 out of 10. I don't know how you feel, but that seems to flow pretty well. It's very specific. So there is precise quest information that has to be given to the player. The fact that they not only have to kill the leader, they have to find the lair. If they don't already know where it is, they have to find the leader, kill the leader, and they also have to wipe out all the rest of the patrols inside the lair. So it's, if you find the leader in the first level, you still have to go to the second and third level and wipe them all out. Otherwise, somebody just gets promoted up to being a new leader, and then the lair continues to be a lair. But if you wipe out everybody, then the thing crumbles and destroys, like at the end of Indiana Jones films, and then the lair is gone and the problem has been removed. So that's what this is trying to convey. And so there's 10 of them down here, and I won't read all of them to you. And so that's what it is. It's doing this, and then flipping back and going over, you know, what these phrases are, and could I, you know, change it a bit and stuff. And so it's not tedious. I actually enjoy doing it, but it does take time. And so, like I said, I've spent 12 hours this week just working on this text part, along with other aspects of the game. So that's where we're at. That's what we're working on. When are we actually going to start playtesting? Not Monday, because I still have some more of this tech stuff to work on. But very close to that. So I teach on Tuesdays, probably not Tuesday, but maybe Wednesday. We'll start that. Anyway, we are really close. You know, we're not working on the dungeons anymore. We're working on the quest stuff of why you're going into the dungeons. And, you know, there's more work here than we thought. But anyways, we close this off, and then it's ready. It's ready for the small council people to go and test it and give us feedback. And so, you know, part of the feedback things we're looking for is, like, did these quest descriptions, they work for you? Not did they technically work, but did they flow? Did it sound nice? Does it sound like a role-playing game, a real role-playing game? Or did it sound like a computer procedurally generating and mashing text together? Yeah, that's the kind of stuff that I'm looking for. So thank you again for following and your interest in Archmage Rises. And like I said last time, hopefully by next update, I have a build for you, or at least for some of you to play. That's what we're all looking forward to. So until then, bye!